And the Indiana Fever have pulled off the upset, the 6th seed, beating Vegas 89-73 to take game.
All right, let's be real. Nobody gave the Indiana Fever even a chance. ESPN analysts flat out dismissed them. Odds makers practically laughed. Even the two-time champions, the Las Vegas Aces, expected nothing less than a clean sweep. But then, on their own home court, on the very night superstar A.J.A. Wilson was crowned MVP, the Fever shocked the world by stealing Game 1. So, how did a team missing 6 players completely flip the script on the entire series with just one victory? And get this, what exactly did Caitlin Clark tell her teammates afterward that has the entire league buzzing? Stick around, because this wasn't just some random upset, it was a seismic statement. If you're as fired up for the Fever as we are, drop a fire in the comments, and let us know how proud you are of this incredible team. So, what really happens when a team enters the playoffs with 6 key players sidelined, no analysts giving them a chance, and the two-time reigning champions lurking, ready to pounce? You get the ultimate test of belief for the Indiana Fever. A night meant to be someone else's coronation suddenly transformed, against all odds, into their own unforgettable moment.
Particular matchup, Aces Fever Game 1. We're not deciding the whole series right now, just Game 1.
Should we do it together?
I think we should do it together because my spidey sense are telling me they might be the same. 3, 2, 1.
Aces.
They're not going to lose after she just won MVP.
Yeah, period.
From the very start, everyone labeled this series as a complete mismatch, right? ESPN panels all but declared it short and predictable. Sportsbooks had odds so absurdly one-sided that it was easier to wager on how much Las Vegas would win by than to bet on Indiana actually pulling off the series. Even the pre-game headlines said it all. They spoke of survival, not triumph. The Aces were expected to coast straight into another finals appearance, and the unspoken message couldn't have been clearer. If Indiana merely avoided utter humiliation, that alone would be spun as a success.
Indiana Fever had no business winning a playoff series this year, had no business advancing to the semifinals for the first time in a decade, and yet here they are, eliminating the Atlanta Dream in Atlanta without Caitlin Clark, without Sophie Cunningham, without Sid Colson, without Erin McDonald, without Chloe Bibby. The hospital squad is on the bench, and yet the Indiana Fever are into the semifinals of the WNBA.
And if that weren't enough, then came the injury report, a brutal list of names. Caitlin Clark sidelined, Sophie Cunningham out, along with Sydney Coulson, Chloe BBY, Ari McDonald, and Dairies Dantes. 6 names gone. The Fever didn't just look short-handed, they looked like a team patched together with duct tape. This wasn't merely an underdog situation anymore. People were actually saying they were lucky just to stand on the court, as if their season had already unofficially ended before the playoffs even tipped off.
And then the coaching of Stephanie White. She is working with a 9-woman rotation, and 5 of those players did not even touch the court the last time the Fever played the Dream during the regular season, and 3 of those players weren't even on the team. I cannot say it enough. The Indiana Fever should not be here. They continue to be here. They battle. They're resilient. It's wildly impressive. Caitlin Clark wore the black Air Force Ones again. They had one of those forces lifted in the air like a beacon of hope, and now they'll face...
Just picture the scene in Las Vegas before tip-off. Championship banners hanging high, the crowd buzzing in anticipation of a celebration, and then the main event, A.J.A. Wilson at center court, receiving her MVP trophy. This moment wasn't just about honoring her brilliance. It symbolized the storyline everyone had already accepted. Vegas was the undeniable powerhouse, while Indiana was cast as nothing more than the background act. The Fever's players weren't simply overlooked in their semifinal debut, they were treated as if they were invisible.
You actually just referenced it twice. It is Indiana. Dropped 2 of the 3 games to them this year, but you haven't seen them since late July. What excites you about that matchup?
That they haven't seen the real Aces yet. They caught us when we were a bit in turmoil. Not only that, they whooped us one of those stretches. So, you know what? We'll buckle in, hone in where we can, and take care of it.
Here's the wild thing about sports. They have this uncanny way of flipping the script at the very moment expectations seem set in stone. Think about all those legendary underdog runs in history. Teams dismissed before even stepping on the court, squads no one believed deserved to share the floor. You could feel those same parallels bubbling here. This wasn't just the beginning of a playoff series. For Indiana, Game 1 was their chance, their only chance, to claim a seat at the table and boldly declare they were here to fight. And by the final buzzer, the so-called pre-written script had been ripped to shreds. The spotlight on AJA Wilson's MVP coronation suddenly dimmed, because the Fever had stolen it outright, walking out of Las Vegas with an 89-73 win, their first semifinal victory in nearly a decade. The basketball world stood stunned in disbelief. But here's the kicker, the real shocker didn't just come from the Fever as a whole. It came from one player who turned that night into her own personal masterpiece.
Respect everyone, fear no one. Sounds in the chat. Dub. That's one. Big time.
While every single eye was fixed on AJA Wilson, watching her hoist that MVP trophy, absolutely no one, and I mean no one, saw Kelsey Mitchell come to rewrite
expected
the script.
Kelsey Mitchell to
This was
storm in
supposed to
and
be
completely
Wilson's night.
rewrite the
The
entire...
defending champs, handling business at home with ease, the storyline wrapped up before the ball even hit the floor, but Mitchell refused to let Indiana fade into a mere footnote. She hijacked that semifinal opener and turned it into her own masterpiece. And by the time the final buzzer echoed, the entire league's conversation had shifted, dramatically and unmistakably, in her direction.
Semi-final appearance. Just what's your emotional state right now?
Normal, I think. It's practice. Trying to prepare like anybody else would, like any other day. But keep the main things.
Kelsey Mitchell has always been respected as an elite scorer, no question about it. But let's be honest, more often than not, she's treated as an afterthought, overshadowed by the bigger, flashier names across the WNBA heading into this series. The spotlight was fixed on AJA Wilson extending her dominance, on Jackie Young and Chelsea Gray potentially overwhelming Indiana, or simply on whether the Fever could even manage to stay competitive. Almost nobody was pointing to Mitchell as the player capable of redefining this matchup yet. In classic Mitchell fashion, she answered the only way she knows how, by letting her game do the talking. And on this night, her play spoke louder than any expectations, louder than any whispers that doubted her.
Your younger self.
Yeah.
How would you explain to her to make sure that you give yourself grace and give you the flowers that you so willingly deserve?
I think the best thing I could have done was, I had a list. I had a long list. I wrote down a list of all the times I could have quit, been a pro, playing with the Indiana Fever. I wrote down all the people that wrote me off. I wrote it down on a list. I wrote down all the coaches that didn't want me around. I wrote down all the media outlet that didn't want to talk to me. I think that within itself is like, you got to tell your younger self not to give up on you. Because it's been a lot of times I could have given up when I know a lot of people that talk to me now weren't talking to me, and I know what it was like when they wasn't. So that part is big.
Mitchell didn't just score, she scored in every way imaginable. She was burying mid-range pull-ups with defenders draped all over her, fighting through screens without hesitation. Then, whenever the Aces gave her even a split second of daylight, she punished them with deep threes. And get this, she was perfect at the line, knocking down all 6 of her free throws. Inside, outside, and everywhere in between, Mitchell looked untouchable. By the time the final box score dropped, she had racked up a jaw-dropping 34 points on 12 of 23 shooting, splashing 4 of 6 from beyond the arc, while staying flawless at the stripe. It wasn't just efficient, it was relentless.
That time, keeping the pivot foot alive and going strong side for Wilson.
Mitchell this time finds a lane to the basket. Inside to Turner. Nice look from Mitchell, which follows 5 Eastern time on ESPN. Mitchell. Lot of arc on that and a couple of...
That 34-point eruption wasn't just a big night for Mitchell, it was historic. No Fever player had topped 30 in a playoff game since 2012. And get this, no one in WNBA history had ever scored that many in their very first semifinal appearance. Mitchell's masterpiece now stands shoulder to shoulder with legends like Lauren Jackson and Cynthia Cooper, but she didn't just join them, she passed them. Think about that. In her post-season debut at this stage, against the reigning champions, on a night built around an MVP celebration, she carved out her own name in the record books.
He's done that. 5-point advantage for Indy. Trying to go inside. Terrific defense by Mitchell to deny Lloyd. It's Mitchell, guarded by Evans. Screen from Turner. Kelsey Mitchell knocks down another shot.
No one is accountable for Hall.
It's Mitchell. Come on.
And you know what? Even from the sidelines, Caitlin Clark felt the full weight of that performance. Injured and unable to suit up, her reaction was simple, but powerful. Just 2 words blasted across social media. Kelsey, unreal. No long speech. No overthinking. Just raw, unfiltered respect from the sophomore phenom to the veteran who carried her team when it mattered most. It was the clearest sign yet of how much Mitchell means to this squad, and how deeply her teammates recognize her impact.
Who's going to step up, and how can the Aces find an edge?
Another good cut to the basket, this time by Turner.
The Las Vegas Aces are running out of time because the Indiana Fever making passes with... That's right.
Boston. Triple team, kicks it out. Kelsey Mitchell.
Even Aces head coach Becky Hammon, who's never quick to hand out compliments, had to admit after the game that they simply had no answer for Mitchell. That acknowledgement alone underscored just how thoroughly she controlled nearly every possession that night. This wasn't luck. It wasn't a fluke. It was Mitchell at her absolute best, proving, once and for all, that she deserves a place in every conversation about the league's most dangerous guards.
But you could start on the defensive end. I mean, clearly we had no answer for Mitchell. Couldn't even attempt to slow her down a little bit. I thought it was really poor.
The symbolism couldn't have been louder, could it? On the very same floor where AJA Wilson was crowned league MVP, Kelsey Mitchell was staking her own claim, almost as if to say, hey, we've got a most valuable player too, and she's wearing Fever red, blue, and yellow. Yes, it was a career night. But more than that, her 34 points embodied Indiana's defiance, their refusal to play a supporting role in this story. The Fever didn't just win because of Mitchell's brilliance. Through her performance, they discovered their identity, and that identity didn't end with one scorer. The true heartbeat of this upset came from the roster as a whole, suffocating defense, relentless hustle, and surprising depth, all combining to frustrate the champions from every angle. Everyone assumed Las Vegas would dominate the paint, bullying the Fever inside with size, strength, and the presence of their MVP. Instead, Indiana flipped the script, turning tempo and defense into their weapon, seizing control of the very area no one believed they could win. What unfolded wasn't mere resistance. It looked like a blueprint, a literal game plan, for breaking down the defending champions.